Hello. How are
Hi.
you?
Good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm pretty good. I'm doing well.
Good. My name's Nick. You are Alberto or
Yes, I'm Alberto.
okay, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. You too.
And you are from Brazil?
Yes, I'm from Brazil.
Okay, great. And I see you have a lot of minutes on Cambly, more than 2,000 minutes. How long have you been using Cambly?
I've been using Cambly for a long time. I
Yeah.
have, I think I have more than 50 hours spoken here on Cambly
Okay.
before.
So have you been using it for for more than a year or?
Yeah, more than a year.
Okay.
But I don't have much time. I've been using it just for 30 minutes a week.
Oh,
I
okay.
want to use more, at
Mm-hmm.
least 2 or 3 times a week to improve better my English.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Like 3 times a week is pretty good if you can for that and afford it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so why are you wanting to improve your English? Is it for your work or something else?
Um. I want to improve. Right now, I'm teaching my children how to speak English. I enjoy a lot of English to watch a movie, watch TV in English.
Yeah.
Uh, I enjoy reading
Mhm.
in English, and
Okay.
I want to travel too. It's a interesting language to learn.
What kind of things do you like to read in English?
Right now, I'm just reading books to learn English, some histories, but just in notebooks to how to learn English. And I enjoy a
Okay.
lot of to read the news in English, like CNN online,
Hmm.
BBC, something like
Good.
that.
Yeah. I think those
And
are
uh, there is an interesting website to practice my listening. Is VOA, the Voice of America. It's a
hmm
interesting place to practice my listening.
right. Yeah. Do they speak kind of slowly? It's kind of easy to understand on VOA.
Yeah, there
Yeah.
is a little slowly or a normal way. It's
Right.
interesting to learn.
Yeah, I think it's for people over all over the world to hear the news in English. Yeah, I like VOA. Yeah, I think it used to be on the radio in many countries, and now maybe not
Yeah,
so much,
uh,
but it's on
yeah,
the internet.
yeah. I like to listen the radio too, but the radio is not just about USA. It's about any country in the world, like South America, like South Africa, or other countries.
Right, global world news. And how old are your kids?
The youngest is just 1 year and 4 months, and the oldest is 13 years
Okay,
old.
and so is your 13-year-old taking classes in English at school?
Yeah, he's taking English class in school. But here in Brazil, everyone uh, taking English classes in school, but just a little learn
Yeah.
and speak English here In Brazil, just 5% of people here speak English. I don't know why.
Hmm. Yeah. I see. Yeah.
They learn about read better than speak just a little. I think that because Brazil there are a little speaker in English.
Yeah. And I think most countries are like that, or even, even the United States. Like in school, we usually study Spanish or maybe some other language in school, but it's difficult to get a good education of foreign language in a regular school, especially speaking, because there's not a lot of opportunities to speak. Really focus on grammar or reading. So, how is your 13-year-old son's Spanish or English? Is it similar to yours, or are you
No,
better speaker?
he is more beginner than me
Yeah,
because I started learning English 4 years ago, and I'm helping him. But the children, they are very smart how to learn, but they don't pay attention.
yeah. So, how did you start learning 4 years ago? Did you take classes or just teaching yourself with the
Uh,
internet or what?
I started learn by myself,
Hmm.
and right now I'm taking English classes.
Oh, okay. What like classes at a language institute or something like that?
Yeah, and it's Fisk. The name it's Fisk. The school names.
FISK.
FISK. Right,
Uh-huh.
exactly.
Okay, I've never heard of that, but okay.
The
And
owner, the owner is the school owners is American.
okay, so are the teachers native speakers? Are they from America
No,
or?
uh, I never had classes with a native speaker in school.
Okay,
Just here on Cambly, I'm practicing with a native, and
I see.
the native English speaker is very different.
How do you mean? How is it different?
Because, for example, my English teacher is Brazilian,
Mm-hmm.
and the accent it's very different. When I
Yeah.
started speaking here in Cambly, uh, I needed um, 5 or 6 English class to start to understand a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. There's something about the Brazilian accent. I don't know. Something about, I guess, the Portuguese language and something about the way it's spoken that I notice Brazilian people, yeah, sometimes struggle with a strong accent.
Yeah,
Although your accent sounds pretty good. Like you don't, you have a little accent which is normal, but not that strong. Like a lot of Brazilian people want to put e at the end of every word. Like like they'll call me like my name is Nick, but they'll call me Nicky. They always want to
yeah.
put the e at the end of the words. Um,
Oh, that's great.
yeah, but no, you're
Yeah, this
sounding.
platform, it's a very nice platform to practice. And
Yeah.
for example, I don't have much time to practice right now, but I think in 2 or 3 months uh, I'm going in vacation and I have more time to practice. But here is for me is the best way to improve my speaking. And with
Yeah.
a native speaker, it's very good to practice.
Where are most of the speakers from that you speak with on Cambly? Are they from the United States mostly, or and Canada, or Europe also?
Um, I prefer practicing here with American. I want to get more the American accent. But I think in Canada, some parts of the US, Canada, it's for me it's quite similar, the American
Yeah.
accent.
Yeah, I agree. Usually, yeah, if I'm like I don't know, I've been watching a couple of YouTube channels of people and they're from Canada, but I wouldn't know that they're from Canada because they sound the same to me.
Mm.
Um, Sometimes maybe a Canadian person will use some words that makes me think like, oh, that person is Canadian because they use that word, but generally they're pretty similar. And
Here
of
in
course,
Brazil,
uh-huh.
it's a big country. It's quite similar like USA. And for
Hmm.
example, here there are lots of different accents inside Brazil. I think that in America is quite similar.
Yeah.
I've been talking to uh, Canadian with a Canadian people. For you, in Canada, uh, there is different accent in Canada. For me, it's I think that it's all the accent is similar inside Canada. For you,
Right. Yeah, it's very subtle, I think. Yeah. Yeah, I don't really know the different Canadian accents. I think to me they would sound very similar. Yeah. But in the United States, I could notice some accents, someone from the deep south, from Mississippi or something, Tennessee might have a strong accent, or even from like New York or Boston might have an accent. But also, those accents, I think when people maybe go to university and they're kind of educated, the accents kind of become more normal. It's
right?
like if you were talking to somebody who like maybe never finished high school and they're from Tennessee or something, maybe they would speak with a strong accent. But generally,
Uh,
it's I don't know.
right. What part of the USA it's more difficult to understand for English learners? I think.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like I don't know, people from like Louisiana. Again, it's another southern state. Some people you might have a be difficult to understand. I was traveling one time through Louisiana and stopped in some places, and I had a hard time understanding people. Um, but those were like people in really small towns, like kind of poor people in the small town. Uh,
Uh,
I could, but then if I went to a big
more.
But if I went to a big city, it would be easier to understand. Yeah.
And for example, uh, there are lots of countries that the first language is English.
Hmm.
And for you, for example, uh, English from India, you can understand as well as a.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, India is in a way a little bit like I think of it kind of like Brazil. Like there's something about the way Indian people learn their native language that's very different or something because they often have a very strong accent. Even Indian or Pakistani people, like we have a lot of doctors in the United States from Pakistan or from India. So these people are very educated and they might speak with a really high vocabulary and perfect grammar. They really know English, but they still have like a really strong accent sometimes.
Some expression is from there is not a real English. I think in India.
Hmm. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, in India, it's not their first language, right? They're speaking Urdu
Uh,
or Hindi or whatever. They have their like native languages, but they learn English as a second language. But but yeah,
um,
it's something about the accent can be difficult.
and about I don't know if the word is in English Indio. You can understand. For example, Indio is
Yeah.
the
Native American people like that.
yeah
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, we
Uh,
call him Indian, like we call Indian both people usually. People from India or people from America originally will say Indio. Uh, but we could also
in
say Native American peoples. Yeah.
Native American people, and
Mhm.
they all of them speak English, or
Yeah.
they have other languages to speak. The
In the
Indians.
United, yeah, in the United States, it's been a bad situation for the Native American people. Mostly, I think they've lost their original languages a lot of the time. Like I know in the state of Arizona, where they have the Grand Canyon, it's a big tourist place. There's some Native American. They're called tribes, right? The groups, and it's the Navajo people there, and the Navajo people actually have their own radio station. So when you're driving there, you can turn on the radio and listen, and they speak in the Navajo language. But generally, I think the Native American people in the United States, they only know English because hundreds of years ago, people told them, they put them in schools and said, just learn English, don't talk in the other language like that. But like now I'm living in Mexico City, and it's a little different here. I think the Indian people, the native Aztec or Maya people, were able to keep their culture a little bit more, and sometimes they still speak their old language.
For example, here in Brazil,
Mm.
uh, there are a lot of Indians that they never uh, uh, had a contact with white people. In America, is the
Yeah.
same or not?
No, no, there's nobody like that. No, but I know, yeah, Brazil. I mean, yeah, that's a very unique thing. Like in the Amazonia.
Yes, in Amazon there are lots of uh, I don't know the name. Here we used to say tribo. It's like a community, and there
Mm-hmm.
are more than 100 like that, and tribe
Tribe. Yeah, same. We say
tribe
this. Mm-hmm. Tribe.
tribe
Yeah.
tribe in in the for example, but I think they are more smart than us, for example, because 100 years ago, uh, they had more than 500 languages, and they have one to speak between them.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
is, for example, here we have just 5% Brazilian speak English,
Mm-hmm.
but the Indians have the language communication for them, and they speak as well in each other.
Mm. Okay. So they're able to communicate in the different languages. Yeah. Yeah. That's super interesting. Yeah. Definitely. There's a lot of things to learn from those cultures. Knowledge about nature and things like that. Yeah. That's really interesting.
Yeah,
But they're slowly being contacted by people, right? People are going into the Amazon and talking to the different tribes and cutting
and
down the
for
trees.
example, they are very smart because when some them is going to learn Portuguese, they
Mm-hmm.
don't have they don't learn how to write, just to speak,
Hmm.
and they speak very faster than the Brazilian when they are going to learn English.
Really?
And,
Huh.
yeah, and they don't have any technology to learn,
Yeah.
just speaking, and they
Uh-huh.
speak faster than, for example, the Brazilian when they are going to learn English.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe their minds are stronger because they're not watching TV or using a smartphone or something. Yeah, that's interesting. And so you said you're going on vacation soon. Where are you going to for vacation?
Right, I'm going to vacation in July,
Hmm.
but um, I'm going to travel, but to the beach or uh, going to visit some parents. I think I
You
want
what?
to visit abroad, but just in the next year.
Visit what in the next year?
In the
What did?
next year, I'm saving money and preparing to
Mhm.
to to travel abroad.
Oh, okay, to another country.
I wanted to visit the USA.
I see. And what part of Brazil do you stay in? Do you live in? Are you in
I live
Brazil?
in the southeast Brazil. It,
Oh,
it close it's close to São Paulo. Have you ever heard something about São Paulo? It's a big city here in Brazil.
yeah, yeah, definitely. I had a friend who was a doctor who lived in uh, where I lived in Seattle from Sao Paulo, and yeah, I speak
I live
sometimes. I've never been to Brazil. I've never been to South America. I've only been to Central America, only as far south as Panama. No, no
Panama.
further. Yeah, and now I'm living in Mexico. I'm living in Mexico City.
I live in Mexico, right? No,
Yeah, yeah, I'm in Mexico City now. Yeah,
Mexico City. It's a big city too.
like Sao Paulo, I think. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's big, but it's good. I like it. It's much. I don't know. I like the culture. It's more interesting, I think, than my home in the United States, and it's much cheaper. Also, much less expensive for food, for an apartment, for taking the bus. Everything is much cheaper. So, and since I'm working on the internet and I get paid for dollars, yeah, it's good. Good
Oh,
situation.
that's good.
Yeah.
I live around 100 miles from São Paulo, but I live in a very small city here uh, in the mountain. It's it's a tourist city, but it's just uh, around 5,000 people living here. We can have visitors just on holiday.
Why do people visit the city? What is
They
it?
like to visit here because here it's colder than the average Brazilian average. And for example, in the winter, the people like to visit here and um, to practicing some kinds of sports like go hiking, um, kinds of sports like in the river, the mountain, and the weather here it's very good.
Oh, okay, nice. So it's higher. Is it kind of in the mountains at a higher
Yeah,
elevation? Oh, okay, nice.
for example, the seat is 1,600 meters, and the higher point is 2,080 meters.
Okay. And it's and the air is clean and nice, I think. Yeah, because it's a small city.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very small.
Yeah. Like here in Mexico City, it's pretty high elevation, Uh, so it's less hot than many other places in Mexico. Uh, but it's not so nice because the air is very dirty. And so it's not like, yeah, a nice place to get away, but it is cooler. And yeah, so what kind of work do you do in that small city? What is your job?
Um, I've been working in construction,
Hmm.
and I'm owner a small bar here in my neighborhood.
Hmm.
I work in construction in my own bar too.
Cool. Does your family work at the bar or?
Not my wife has been working in I think doing chocolates. How do you say that? He worked doing chocolates,
Only chocolate or like bread and things also, or just chocolates, just candy?
just chocolate.
I think
Chocolate star.
yeah. Oops. I don't know if I might have spelled that wrong. Confection.
Confectionist.
Some yeah, something like that. I think is what we call people who make candies. I spelled that wrong. I don't know. You have to Google it. But yeah, but I see like chocolate maker. Maybe we would just say something like that.
Chocolate maker.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I see. Interesting. So, what kind of customers do you have at your bar? Are they local working people or tourists or?
Just local people because it's some kinds like countryside bar. It's more people who they are working in construction,
Mhm.
like a bricklayer, painter. I don't know the others
Sure. Labor.
name.
Yeah, laborers. Yeah. Uh, blue. We sometimes we say blue collar workers, like not the office workers, but the people that work with their hands. We say
Or
blue collars because they wear a blue shirt, not a white
yeah.
shirt. You know.
It's because here, for example, in Brazil, the favorite sports here it's soccer.
Hmm.
And for example, almost every day uh, we have a match soccer,
Hmm.
and they used to come to my bar to watch and drink some kinds of beverage
What
because
kind of
he
do they drink beer or do they drink liquor?
beers
Uh huh.
uh, it's beers,
Uh huh.
and here in Brazil there are a lot of sugarcane liquor, uh,
Mm. Hmm.
and they most of them like to drink sugarcane liquor here. It's a kind of drink you can do in at home or in a farm.
Uh huh.
In Brazil, it's you are feel free to do that. I think in the USA it's a little different.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not free.
How do they say that? Is it like what they call a guard? How do they say aguardiente in other Spanish speaking countries or something like that? How do they say it in Portuguese? The sugarcane alcohol.
Sugarcane. It's mm, it's I used to say, for example, it's uma bebida caseira.
Mm.
For example, it's some kinds of beverages you can do at home,
Okay, so it means like homemade. Uh huh. I see.
and you can and the people used to do and put him in like a big barrel made to the woods, like something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, wooden barrel. Uh huh. For flavor or something. Interesting. Okay, well, we're going to run out of time. It's very nice talking to you. Interesting to talk to you.
Oh, no, we had a nice conversation. See you next time.
Good. I hope
And
so.